So you've seen the best trades of the 2025 MLB trade deadline. Today we're going to be ranking the worst trades, our top 5 worst trades of the 2025 MLB trade deadline. There's shockingly pretty good amount, but I do think the top 5 is pretty easy to figure out. We'll see if me and James are on the same page. A little more for this one than we were for the best trades. Remember, drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying the content over here. It really does help support what we do. And don't forget to subscribe to see all the content coming out on the Windup all year long. James, where do you want to begin? Get us started at number 5. What is your fifth worst trade?
Fifth worst trade for me was one that I didn't understand the time, and it's like it happened. Everything that happened afterwards was so obvious that I'm like, how? Why would you have made this trade for a team that's kind of not playing at all their best baseball right now, limping into the playoffs? Dustin May to the Red
Oh,
Sox.
wow. We have the same 5. Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
For a team that badly needed a depth starter anywhere, like they went out and got a guy who got bounced from his own rotation, had been ineffective this entire year, and dealt with injuries. You know what happened? He got hurt and he got bounced from the rotation after pitching poorly in the 5 starts he made, 6 appearances he made with the Red Sox. Like, it was so obvious that wasn't going to work out. He did have one amazing start against the Astros. People were like, oh my gosh, maybe the Red Sox fixed him. Wasn't true. Doesn't really have any depth of repertoire. He has really nice looking sweeper, and that's kind of what Dustin May is at this point, but it just wasn't at all a good trade.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they traded for him. This is one of the few where on the best I didn't really think about the haul. On the worst, I went, you also traded James Tibbs, who I'm not particularly high on as a prospect,
It's a
but the
baseball
Red
player.
Sox traded Rafael Devers, and James Tibbs was supposed to be like the prospect that they traded for in that trade. And then they traded him for a rental in Dustin May, who has basically never been good in his career since he's gotten hurt. Like, he has not been good in years. I couldn't believe that Dustin May was the guy that they went after, and they gave up the big prospect in the Rafael Devers trade. It was baffling to me. It felt like Craig Breslow maybe was playing MLB The Show 21, maybe in his house, and he was like, "Yeah, Dustin May, a potential." It's not the same pitcher anymore. Dustin May is not that guy. If the Dodgers couldn't figure it out with him, I think there's a pretty good reason. I think he just might not be that good. And the fact that, like you said, they went to him for depth starting pitching was kind of crazy. He was like, out of all the guys, I feel like he had such a low floor because he hasn't been good in so long.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was just like everyone the second half was like, what? Why?
Yeah,
And it all
why?
turned out to be true. My next worst trade, sticking with pitching, this is going to be very funny if you guys watch my best trades at deadline. It was Jake Bird to the Yankees. Jake
Okay.
Bird, a big part of that trade was, I think, getting him for the years of control. And again, the Yankees needed relievers. They kind of volume shot in their bullpen. They got Bednar, who I thought was my best trade at the trade deadline because he studied that bullpen. Camille Doval's been up and down, but he's still a demon. Jake Bird made a handful of appearances. He got sent down to the minor leagues. And the funny part is that while the Yankees went through this entire trade deadline and traded nothing to get a whole slew of new players on their active roster, they might have given up the most for every single package to actually get Bird. And he was by far the most disappointing guy. And it's that situation where, I don't know, you go from, we're going to see this with some other guys in this list. You go from a place like Colorado to New York. The lights are very bright for the first time in your entire career. You have to talk to 15 reporters after you blow a save rather than like one guy who writes for the like the Colorado Sentinel, Denver Sun, whatever that paper is, not the Baltimore Sun. It's just, I think it might still work out in the future, but in terms of what's happened after this deadline, the Yankees could really use one more high leverage arm. It's supposed to be Bird, and he's far from that.
Yeah, I also picked the Yankee, but it was not Jake Berg. Jake Berg did not make my list. I went with Ryan McMahon. I thought Ryan McMahon was going to be way better in Yankee Stadium. He was a weird guy where I thought leaving Colorado might actually help him because pull the ball down the line, you're just going to hit home runs at Yankee Stadium. And at Colorado, we know the fence is a little bit further. You hit the ball further when you hit it in the air. I just thought that like getting on a competitive team, I always thought Ryan McMahon would be so valuable to a playoff team because of how good that defense is. He gets on base enough, has enough pop in that bat. He's not been very good. Defensively, he's been fine still because I don't think you're going to lose the defense from him ever. And maybe that's all the Yankees needed. But the fact that he's rocking like a 55, I think, WRC plus since he joined the Yankees, he's got 3 homers, 8 double, 17 RBIs, a 624 OPS, just not really bringing anything to the table for a Yankees team where I thought that this could have been one of the more sneaky acquisitions. He's just not been very good. Jake Bird was an also good one to put on there as well. It's funny, the guys that they traded for from the Rockies both mega have stunk. You could have really put either one of those guys here at number 4.
Yeah, McMahon was an honorable mention for me, but I pushed him off because of what you said about the fact that their lineup is still the best in the American League anyway. If he's hitting good or bad, they're still the best lineup in the American League. They kind of just needed that defense to steady everything. And he has steadied it in that sense while still being a huge disappointment. Another huge disappointment. Someone who I was super excited to see this trade happen when the deadline happened. I thought this was going to be one of the biggest coups of the whole thing.
Oh,
Jesus Sanchez to the Astros.
yeah, he was an honorable mention for
Terrible.
me. The reason he was an honorable mention for me, I'll let you talk about because he's been wow bad. Like they haven't gotten anything out of him. The reason I say honorable mention is because they have control over him for a couple years, so we might be able to look at this one
Totally.
next season and be like, okay, they made tweaks to Jesus Sanchez's game. He's a lot better, but he has been god awful. He was your number 3, right?
Yeah, that was my number 3. He's got under 200 batting average. He went like almost 2 full weeks or 10 days without getting a hit in the middle of September. Like it's really really bad. Doesn't have a multi-hit game since August. Like you kind of figured that again, being a left-handed batter, Miami's not the worst park for a left-handed batter, but it's not good for hitters in general. Just getting there, getting to a pennant race for the first time, being around a lot of good, savvy veterans, being around some hitting coaches that have turned a lot of guys' careers around. You kind of felt like Jesus Sanchez could have hit the ground running. That was one of my big calls for the second half.
That was your boy.
Missed badly. Still is my boy. We'll see what happens next year. But what a bad trade this turned out to be in the moment.
Yeah, Jesus Sanchez on my honorable mention. I just felt like there were some other trades that hurt a little bit more. One being at number 3, the Tigers trading for Charlie Morton. In the moment,
Yeah.
it made 0 sense. Charlie Morton just said that because he's been DFA'd, he's retiring. He's done. That's it. He's going to retire after the DFA is official.
That's funny because the Braves put in a waiver claim.
Did they really?
Unless I got like Jezza baseball, I saw that they did.
Okay, that's crazy. I think he said he wants to retire. That he's pretty much done. That's what I saw. Maybe I got talking Basabel. Maybe that's what I got. But he's been horrible for the Tigers. One of the reasons why
it's official, yeah. As per Mark Bowman, Charlie Morton is back with the Braves. They're still going to talk about whether or not he'll pitch this year. They're going to figure it out today.
Okay, so maybe I got talking baseball, but he's been so bad. First off, he was horrible with the Orioles. He was terrible. He was a corpse. I mean, he's 41 years old. He was bad with the Braves last year. He was bad with the Orioles at the start of this year. And the Tigers identified him and said, 41-year-old Charlie Morton, who's got a 6 ERA and 100 innings. I think that's going to be our number 3 starter right now. And what do you know? Charlie Morton was horrible. 39 innings, a 7 ERA, a 1.6 whip. He was striking out more guys technically. He had a higher K per 9. I don't know if the K rate was any higher, but he was atrocious. And for a Tigers team that is in catastrophic free fall, at the time this video might come out, they might have clinched their spot in the playoffs by then. But the fact that the Guardians were able to even bring this thing close when the Tigers, I think, were 10 games up about a week and a half ago, absolutely insane. And Charlie Morton's a big reason why. You can't win games when Charlie Morton's on the mound. His last 5 starts, the Tigers have lost. I don't know how deep that goes. Let me see. He's made 7 starts, I think, with the Tigers, and they have almost lost every single one.
I mean, it's also this kind of a bigger, broader discussion about the Tigers trade deadline. I didn't even put Morton on here because he sucked, and I kind of expected him to suck, so I didn't even think anything of that trade. But just going back to the deadline I think at the time, they still had the best record in the American League. Yep. They were a team that people were like talking about as a legitimate World Series contender, which I don't think was ever true. Their trade deadline consisted of them dumping Matt Manning, acquiring Cody Heuer, acquiring Rafael Montero, Chris Paddock, Randy
Kyle
Donovan.
Finnegan was good. He was good. If he didn't get hurt, he would have been one of the 5 best.
And then your boy Paul Sewald. Like that was who the Tigers
sleeper cell.
That was who the Tigers walked out of the trade deadline with when they had the best record in the American League. You kind of just can't let that happen to your team.
And they did it again last year too. Remember they
sold, but they were under 500.
I know, but
they
half sold. It was like you guys didn't trade all these people. Like that. Who's their GM? Scott Harris.
Yeah.
Weird deadline games by him. Like I can't ever see the vision with that team. That's always been my problem with this Tigers org.
There's always just something too. Like the players are aware of what's happening at the trade deadline. Like when they know who's coming into this clubhouse, they're kind of just stopgap band-aids, a couple of middle relievers. They're like, all right, I guess they don't believe in us enough to think we're actually going to be able to win the World Series. And I'm not saying that's what happened to the Tigers, but you can understand how a team might feel that way. Then you have a team like the Astros. Their team still goes all in. You still play like ass afterwards. So there's no real rhyme or reason to it, but there's just tiny little things that might affect the way these guys play.
All right. Takes us to number 2. I got a feeling I know what team these guys are going to be on. So number 2, James, give me number 2 first. Let's see if we're on the same page.
Cedric Mullins.
Cedric Mullins is number 2.
That's it.
Woof.
Oh, man. It's just...
Woof.
So Mark and I, again, Big Mets guys. We host Big Mets podcast, Mets Stuff
If
podcast.
that wasn't obvious by the
Yeah,
the Mets stuff behind us.
both of us. So we at the time, I think both of us were like comfortably lukewarm about the Cedric Mullins trade. You could
Yeah.
even see our live reactions because we were streaming it when this all
Yes.
happened on Mark's channel for the trade deadline stream. We were both like, all right, cool. It was just the whole thing is that the Mets had to try and raise the floor of the center field position on their roster. They had Tyrone Taylor, whose OPS was in the middling sixes, with as a plus plus defender. They're like, all right, if we get Cedric Mullins, who's still just an acceptable defender and could be a league average hitter, 100 OPS plus, that really elevated what we can do as this team. The problem is that he's not been anywhere close to that. He's
No.
basically been Tyrone Taylor at the plate,
Just
well,
lefty.
lefty Tyrone Taylor at the plate, and being significantly worse defender than Tyrone Taylor. It's been so bad that he's lost playing time to Jose Siri, who just kind of
I think
clicks
has
his brain,
4 hits.
it clicks his brain off and steps on the field. Jeff McNeil's gone back to center field. He's made some misplays in center field that maybe more experienced center fielder makes. Mullins
Well,
also hasn't made some of the best plays that we want him to make, and it's just it was the thing too where you can kind of get wrapped up in a lot of these metrics and these statistics, especially defensively, when they're all framed a little bit differently than one another, where Mullins rates as a plus defender by outs above average, but those rate all outfielders together.
Yes.
So then when you look at Cedric Mullins and just split it for center fielders, while he's still a plus defender, he was like the 24th best center fielder in the stat outs above average. So then you're like, all right, so in terms of all outfielders, he's pretty good. In terms of center fielders, he's actually towards the bottom. So it's just, and again, not being able to even hit like a major league regular. That's the whole nexus here.
Yeah, Cedric Mullins in his 40 games so far with the Mets, 2 homers, 4 doubles, a triple, 10 RBIs. He's been stealing bases when he gets on base, but he doesn't get on base very often. 287 on base, 188 average, 577 OPS for an OPS plus at 65. He has been pitiful. This is the worst stretch of his career. Not even close.
Literally.
Like, he's been a league average hitter. So for Mets fans and us included, to be like, hey, league average hitters 40% better than what we're getting from Tyrone Taylor this year at the plate. I think that was unbelievably fair for us to assume that he would be a league average or even 10% worse than league average hitter. He has been 35% worse than league average since joining the Mets. It feels like the lights are a little too bright for Cedric Mullins right now. He can't do anything right. He can't run the bases right. That play against Dalen Lyle was despicably bad. Both offensively and defensively, despicably bad.
Yeah, it's funny too because there were 2 different plays against Dalen Lyle you could have been referencing there. One where he didn't make the right routes to the ball in center field, and the other one where he didn't run when Dalen Lyle dropped the ball in left field. But some of these bad trades too are more reflections, I think, on the person who made the trade and some are on the player that was traded for. And I think that's a fun distinction here because I think some are both. Where I think Cedric Mullins is just he has completely fallen apart mentally and physically.
Crumbled.
Hard thing to have predicted. I think similarly to the worst trade at the deadline, one of the worst trades
ever
in the history of the trade deadline, another player who has crashed and burned and failed more miserably than anybody could have ever predicted, Ryan Helsley and the Mets.
It is shocking that there are 2 guys that the Mets traded for, Ryan Helsley and Cedric Mullins, that were very good Major League Baseball players. More so Ryan Helsley being one of the 10 best relievers in baseball. Let's just call that the absolute worst he could have been before he got to the Mets. Was one of the 10 best relievers in the league. And he has come to the Mets, and he has been statistically the worst reliever in baseball since he put on the New York Mets uniform. We're talking 17 innings, an 8.47 ERA. By the way, he has had 4 straight scoreless outings, and his ERA is 8.47.
3 straight to start his Mets tenure.
Yes. So in between, he was like, what if I give up, he has 16 earned runs in 17 innings, and that is with like 7 innings of scoreless baseball. The blowups that he has had have single-handedly cost the Mets a possible playoff spot.
Literally. Ryan Helsley's made 20 appearances as a Met. He's given up at least 1 run in 8 of those. And he's given him multiple runs in 6 of those.
So bad.
Ryan Helsley, before coming to the Mets, he had a 1.83 ERA over the last 3 full seasons. 1.83. He's given up more runs in this half season as a Met than he gave up in the previous calendar year as a Cardinal.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts so bad. From 2022 to 2023, over 90 innings, he had 19 earned runs. With the Mets, he has 16 in 17 innings. It's unfathomable. Now, the pitch tipping has to do a lot with it. He pitch tipped the hell out of it. They literally knew what pitch was coming. It was the most obvious thing ever, and you could see it in the at-bats. But, you know what happens to, position players pitch, guys get out. He couldn't even get guys out. That's how bad he was.
He gave up a total of 34 earned runs in 170 innings from 2022 to 2024. And he's given up more than half of that in a month and a half with the Mets.
So bad, and nobody in the world could have seen this coming. And what's going to
No.
make it hurt even more is that of all the prospects the Mets traded, they probably gave the Cardinals the best one in Jesus Baez.
And that was fair looking back at everything.
Totally fair.
Because Ryan Helsley, again, when this happened too, like someone's probably going to clip us who just hates the Mets and watches our podcast. We said the Mets had probably the best bullpen in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
The best 8-9 punch in baseball. The best 8-9
7,
punch.
8, 9.
The best 8-9 punch the Mets have ever had, and at least since we've been watching. And every single time Ryan Helsley stepped in the mound, we've been like, you can't even watch. You can't even believe what's happening in front of you.
No, it's infuriating. And again, he's going on 4 scoreless appearances in a row, which is kind of cool. But also,
it's going to be perfect when he gets right and the Mets miss the playoffs.
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna be locked down. Mets are gonna miss the playoffs because of a tiebreaker with the Reds in games that Ryan Helsley blew against the Reds.
Yeah, it's just absolutely brutal. How terrible it's gonna happen.
Can't even believe. Some of my honorable mentions, by the way. So Jesus Sanchez was one of them. Willie Castro, have you seen how bad he's been for the Cubs? The good thing for them is that he was supposed to be their super utility guy. He wasn't supposed to be this impact bat. But on the margins, he's like got I think 40 WRC plus since joining the Cubs, hitting like 130. Doesn't really have a position to play either. And when he gets in the games, he's been about as bad as you could physically be.
At least he's at the games, though. Also,
He is
another
there.
one here that was bad. So it was kind of reverse bad. Bad more in what this trade meant for this franchise. The Pirates salary dumping keep Ryan Hayes in division to the Reds. They got Sammy Stafora and Taylor Rogers.
Sammy Stafora, big fan of us.
Nothing wrong with Sammy Stafora, but the fact that the Pirates, who are a team that pretends they have no money, salary dumps one of the longest tenured players on their roster.
Now, granted, Ke'Bryan Hayes has been mega dog shit offensively for 2.5 seasons now.
You know, he hasn't been offensively for the last 2 months.
Ooh,
dog shit. He's been
you,
good.
You haven't checked in. You haven't seen the numbers recently.
He's not still above 100 OPS plus?
No. Not with the Reds.
Tell me, because it was 115 like a week ago.
Oh, yeah, no, I think he's gone ice cold. Let me pull it up, because when I was doing my trade video for my channel, he's down to 82 OPS plus.
So I'll take that one back.
He's been ice cold. Like,
he doesn't have a hit in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think since you checked, he might not have a hit.
No, he's like 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 3.
Yeah, he's completely gone back to being the offensive player that he's been. The only thing is that defensively he's awesome. And for a Reds team that's hitting like they are, getting that defense at third base is great. He's just a better Santiago Espinal.
And even just the vibe of, again, you salary dump a guy in your own division like that.
Oh, yeah, Pirates are the biggest losers ever.
To an owner that actually has less money than you do, which is just insane.
Feel very bad for Pirates fans. So bad.
Yeah, that was just that. Some pretty bad trades at the trade deadline where there wasn't even that much that happened objectively, but it's still just some real rough ones to look back on now.
Yeah, and 2 of them are from the Mets, which
the 2 worst ones by far from the Mets.
Yeah, I think if it's anybody else at the top there, you've missed what happened in New York for the Mets, because those have been so bad. But maybe they'll turn it around for these last 6 games, because we are recording before the Mets start their series against the Cubs on Tuesday. The Cubs on Tuesday.
One Cub.
Guys, appreciate you. Let us know in the comment section who you think has been the worst trade of the deadline. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to the Windup so you don't miss out on the baseball content. That's it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all on the next video. Peace out.